Found a love that's gonna wreck me. Walls are coming down, I'm getting set free. And all these lies that I've believed come crashing down when I'm on my knees. I think I found a love that's gonna wreck me. Break me down and build me up again. Come rushing in, you are the air I'm breathing. Break me down and build me up again. You won't stop, you're not done with me yet. 'Cause you're not done with me yet. This grace is now my identity. And every hurt I give to you means less of me and more of you. I think I found a peace that's gonna fight me. Break me down and build me up again. Come rushing in, you are the air I'm breathing. Break me down and build me up again. You won't stop, you're not done with me yet. 'Cause you're not done with me
Hi guys, good morning. So today's game is called Brand Identity. So for this game, you'll need to comment in the chat what you think the brand is. So either the colours of the brand or the outline of the brand will pop up and you'll need to guess. But be careful, some might catch you out like they did with me. Anyways, enjoy!
Thank you so much, Lizzie, for organising that game. I hope you guys did better than me because I only knew the Netflix one, but I'm sure you guys are much better than that. So thank you so much, Lizzie. We're now going to be moving into our message for today. It's week 3 of our series, Free People, where we're talking about the relationship between freedom and rules. Maybe this next thing will sound strange, but sometimes when I think about following the rules, I sometimes will think about zombies. Remember when zombies were everywhere? I don't mean literally everywhere, obviously. I mean in movies, on television, in comic books. I don't know how you feel about zombie movies, but I think they're terrifying. Not just because of the zombies, but because of the way everyone immediately seems to turn against each other as soon as the zombies turn up. Civilization collapses, rules and laws disappear, and suddenly it's everyone for themselves. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about how there are some rules we really hate to follow, but at the same time, some rules are really necessary. And the people in your favourite zombie story might technically be free of the laws and rules they used to live by, but that kind of life isn't really freedom. Not when everyone is against each other and only looking out for themselves. Okay, so maybe you wouldn't want to live in a world where there are no rules. What's a better option? Maybe a world where you're in charge and you get to make the rules. So, big question of the day, if you were the king or queen for the day, what would you do? Which rules would you want to make or break right away? Type in the comments, which rules would you want to make or break right away? Being in charge could be pretty fun, right? You could fill your calendar with all the things that you like to do and skip all the things that you don't. You could cancel the classes at school that you don't like, or just cancel school altogether. You could pass laws that could make your life more happy, fun, and convenient. Now, there's an old movie called Click, where Adam Sandler somehow gets his hand on a remote control that controlled his whole life, which meant he could do things like this.
The most awesome force in the universe, the most powerful device ever created, is now in the hands of one man.
Cool. You wanted a universal remote. That remote controls your universe.
For me to do those documents, it's gonna take me months.
And you better get started.
Wow, I got a big headache. You do? So I can re-experience any part of my life I want. Skipping showering, skipping getting dressed, and looking sexy. I like that.
Have you been drinking, Daddy?
Takes control.
This thing's broken. It's fast forwarding on its own. What else did I miss?
Click.
Plants catch?
Yeah, but your kid stinks.
Ah. right there.
Maybe it seems like it would be awesome to have this kind of power. But as you can probably imagine, this kind of power can lead to some problems. I mean, what if you weren't the person in control? What if someone else had the power? They'd want to do whatever they wanted, and their wants would probably be different from yours. Or, what if there were more than one remote? You might want to cancel maths and only study history, while they might want PE all day. Where would it stop? We all want freedom to do our own thing, but if everyone wants different things, how do we decide who gets what they want? When it comes to choosing something to watch at home or with family, there is normally a little bit of tension. Sam often wants to watch something with action, a bit of gore, and like super tense films. I get nightmares from these films and want to watch something nice and happy. Now, I don't mind a bit of tension, but I can't stand brutal killings or anything like that. And when I get the chance to put a film on, there are often times when Sam really doesn't like it. It's not an easy balance to strike, is it? The balance between what we want and what others want. And for Sam and I, it can take ages to choose what we want to watch together. When's the last time that you disagreed with someone about a decision that needed to be made? Tell us about it. Tap in the comments, when did you last disagree with someone about a decision that needed to be made? Sometimes we're not sure how to compromise, and most of the time we don't even want to. Most of the time we want to make decisions that benefit us. And for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the most important rule God ever gave us. Although some people think God needs us to obey a long list of rules, Jesus said there's one law that matters most, the law of love. According to Jesus, following God comes down to this: love God and love others as you love yourself. And this greatest commandment sounds really simple, but it's not easy to do. And if you've been here for the last couple of weeks, you know all about James. He was a brother of Jesus and leader of the Jerusalem church during the early years of the Jesus movement. And during that time, he wrote a letter to the early followers of Jesus that you can now find in the Bible as the book of James. And in this letter, James was trying to help these Jesus followers learn how to obey God's law, the law of love. James wasn't a king, but he was still a powerful person because he led one of the most important communities of Jesus followers at the time, and people wanted to hear what he had to say. He also had a reputation for being just and fair, as illustrated by his nickname, James the Just. James had a lot of authority, power, and influence. People from all over looked to James for wisdom. And so when a dispute arose among a bunch of churches from different regions, they looked to James to judge the dispute and make a ruling on who was right and who was wrong. Acts is a book in the Bible written by Luke, and in Acts 15, Luke explains a problem that's been going on with some of the different churches. Most of the followers of Jesus were Jewish people who believed Jesus was the Messiah God had promised. But not everyone who followed Jesus was from a Jewish background. And some of these early Jesus followers believed that everyone needed to convert to Judaism in order to follow Jesus. And conversion was not an easy process. It meant circumcision, which was pretty brutal for men. If you're not sure what it is, ask your leaders later on and they'll explain it in your small groups. All you need to know now is that it would really, really hurt. And some of the other Jesus followers believed the only thing anyone needed to do to follow Jesus was to trust and commit to following him. James listened carefully to all the perspectives and made a decision. He decided that no one should be forced to go through lots of difficult steps in order to follow Jesus. He said in Acts 15, verse 19, "It is my judgment, therefore, that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God." The Gentiles are the group of people who weren't Jews. Do you think that decision made James uncomfortable? I think it probably would have done. Would it have been easier for James to just tell everyone they had to become Jewish before they became Christians? I think so. James grew up Jewish and he followed Jewish laws, and so it would have been comfortable to tell others to do what he had done. But James took a more difficult path. James understood that his decision would impact God's love for him. He was free to do whatever he wanted to do. But James was also committed to following Jesus' law of love. And he knew the most loving thing he could do was to make it as easy as possible for others to know Jesus. And James decided his comfort was not as important as loving others. I wonder if James was thinking about this situation when he wrote these words in James chapter 2, verses 12 to 13. Speak and act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom, because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment. Speak and act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom, because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment. Let's take some time now and break this down a bit. James is saying, firstly, that the law gives freedom. God's law, the law of love, gives us freedom. We're free to make the decisions that benefit us and give us what we want, if that's what we want. God's not going to stop us or love us any less, but then he goes on to say, prepare for judgment. God's law of love gives us freedom, but we're still called to speak and act out of love for God and others. And this is the thing that we'll be judged on. And then he says something that sounds a little bit scary. There will be no mercy for the unmerciful. Now, James isn't threatening us with this. He's reminding us that justice has a way of coming back around. When we mistreat people, take advantage of others, or consistently prioritize ourselves over others, we will eventually face consequences. But then, James says, God is merciful to the merciful. So when we're compassionate, forgiving, and gracious to each other, God sees that. You could say we have the freedom to treat people however we'd like. But when we live in a way that prioritizes our wants and comfort at the expense of others, we're not really free. And that's why Jesus told us the most important thing we can do, besides loving God, isn't just to love ourselves, but to love others as we love ourselves. And it's why the book of James tells us to show mercy to others instead of judgment. Because we'll never live freely as long as we're only living for ourselves. There is one thing we will someday answer for. How did we love God and love others? We could make a decision that benefits only ourselves. But our big takeaway for today is free people make decisions that benefit others. Let's think back to the decisions James had to make. If you were an early follower of Jesus, how do you think you would have responded? Would you have wanted all of the new Jesus followers to go through all the same steps that you went through to become Jewish? Do you think you would have been okay with putting your comfort, your traditions, and your experiences aside for the sake of others? What would you do if you disagreed with the people making the final decision? It's almost impossible to put ourselves in the shoes of these early followers of Jesus, but their disagreement is similar to a lot of the disagreements that we have with each other today. This wasn't a good versus evil kind of debate. Everyone involved was trying to do what was good, right, and honouring to God. There wasn't a clear answer. Everyone in the conversation had the same goal: to see people come to know Jesus. But they disagreed about how to achieve that goal. And there are probably some people who got angry at James's decision or couldn't understand his point of view. James ultimately made a decision that prioritized others over himself, and I'm so glad he did. If James had chosen differently, you and I might never have had the opportunity to follow Jesus. James knew difficult decisions rarely have a clear yes or no, right or wrong answer, especially when you're in a decision-making position like James was. So when we're faced with a difficult decision, maybe we shouldn't think in terms of what's right and wrong. Maybe it's more helpful to think like this: what's best for me and what's best for others? Anyone can make a decision that benefits only them. But Jesus calls us to live to a different way of living that follows his law of love. And someday in the future, there'll be a time when you're in charge. You might be in charge of a group project, become captain of your team, become someone's boss, mentor someone younger than you. You might become a parent. Throughout your life, you'll have plenty of chances to be in charge, make the rules, and make big decisions. And so when you're in charge, what should you do with all of that power? You will be tempted to use it for your own gain, but don't. Using your authority for your own gain might be nice for a moment, but it won't be satisfying in the long run. Instead, follow James's lead. Be wise, merciful, and led by love. Use your power for the benefit of others, not just yourself. But this isn't something you have to wait to practice in the future. You don't need to have kids or employees or people under your command in order to lead with love. You can make decisions that benefit others every day, like the way that you treat your family, what you do for your friends, how you use your time, money, and talents. If you aren't prioritizing others over yourself right now, gaining more power or influence will not make you suddenly care about others more than yourselves. The journey starts now. So how can you leverage the influence and power you already have to benefit others? In what ways do you already have influence? Are you influential in your friendship group, on social media, on your team, or with a younger family member? What kind of decisions do you have the power to influence at home, at school, at church, in your group of friends, or in the world? And how will you manage the influence and power you already have? Will you use it to benefit you, or will you use it to benefit others? Thanks to Jesus, we have freedom, but we'll never live freely as long as we're only living for ourselves. Free people make decisions that benefit others. Free people make decisions that benefits others. Let's head now into our small groups on Zoom and chat about this. There'll be about a 4-minute countdown as usual, but we look forward to seeing you there. We'll see you soon.
How could you love me with the mess I've made? I'm so unworthy to deserve your grace. Oh, but you drew me closer than I've been before. And though I tremble deep in my soul, I hear you tell me that I don't need to worry about what I bring to you. Jesus, you're not afraid of my failure. You're not ashamed of my heart, no matter the brokenness I hold. I know when I stand before you, Lord, there's nothing to hide, nothing to hide, nothing to hide. Oh, and my heart